Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom, welcome. Today's Daf is YOMA Lametes. We begin the new parak, which is about a quarter way down the Daf. Now the Kohen Gadol approaches the pair of goats, placed beside him, one on his right, one to his left. One is meant to be brought as a korban chatas, and one meant to be sent out to the midbar, to be thrown off the tzuk, the cliff. The one that's meant as a chatas was called Lashem chatas. The other one was called la'azazel. How's it going to determine which one is meant for what? Says the Mishnah, Toraf bekalfi. He took the kalpi, which was a box, the lottery box, which contained the two lots. He gave it a shake, and he thrust his hand into the kalpi, and he came up with both lotteries, both tickets. Echad kosev ola Lashem. On one ticket was written Lashem, Lamed, and Yud Kei Vav Kei, similar to the tzitz. Echad kosev ola la'azazel. The other ticket had the word la'azazel written on it, to the cliff. Haskan biminai. The reserve Kohen Gadol, the backup Kohen, was to his right. V'roish beis av mismoiloi, and the head of that day's contingency, that group of Kohanim working on that day, the head of that group, the roish beis av, was positioned to the Kohen Gadol's left. Now, im shel shem ola biminoi, if it so happens that the ticket that had on it the word La Hashem came up in the Kohen's right hand, Haskan Oimerloi, the Skan who was positioned to his right, would address the Kohen Gadol and say, Ishi, my master Kohen Gadol, Hagbeya Yemincha, lift up your right hand, and show off the La Hashem Chatas. Vim Shal Shem Ola B'Smoiloi, and if it so turns out that the ticket which had the word La Hashem ended up in the left hand of the Kohen Gadol, so Rosh Beis Av, who was standing to his left, he would announce, Oimerloi Ishi Kohen Gadol, Hagbeya Smolcha, lift up your left hand. And then of course the Kohen Gadol would continue and place the gorillas on the animals, and he would make an announcement and say, well, this is Lashem, this is meant as a chatas. Nisanan al Shneas Irim, he placed the two lots on both goats, one on either. Va'omer, and he announces, Lashem chatas, this one is Lashem chatas, as opposed to the other one, which is la'azazel. This one is Lashem, and it's a chatas. Rabbi Shmuel Omer lo yitzorech loymar chatas. There was no need for him to continue and say Lashem chatas. And Lashem, all he would say is Lashem, and you automatically know it's meant as a chatas. And first, we'll explain. It's based on a question how to learn the psukim in the Torah. The pasuk says we have one of the goats asher ola olav hagar Lashem. And the pasuk continues, ve'asol chatas. So Rashi in Chumash says, Asher ola olav hagoy Lashem, means that actually the Kohen Gadol has to announce. It's a mitzvah for him to announce, this one is designated for the Lashem. The pasuk continues, ve'asol chatas. That's the question. According to Tanakama, it means he's going to announce and everything. It's all part of the announcement. Lashem chatas, meaning not only am I going to contrast this one as opposed to the other one, which is Azazel. In contrast, this is going to be a Chat, Lashem. But he has to continue and say Lashem Chatas, which will be Magdish, which will designate this carbon to be used as a Chatas. So this is a designation, it's a Hegdish, it's the beginning of the Akrav. Whereas Rabbi Shmuel says, as long as you draw that contrast, you draw that parallel, that difference between the two, that one is Azazel, no, this one's Lashem, we automatically know it's a Chatas. Lashem means it's going to be a chatas. In fact, the pasuk says "Vaso chatas" simply means that you're going to be makriv it subsequently as a chatas. But that's not part of the announcement. Now, once the Kohen Gadol expressed the Shema Mefurish when he said Lashem or Lashem chatas, it deserved an appropriate response. Everybody there would respond by saying Baruch Shem Kvod Malchusoi, as we learned earlier in the Masechta. We learned from a pasuk, Kishem Hashem Ekro, when I call out the name of Hashem, Hava Godel Elokeinu, you respond in kind. Nowadays we say Baruch Hu Baruch Shmoi or Amen at the end of a bracha, but in the Beis Hamikdash, which was the makom of the Machal Hashem, especially because they actually expressed the Shem Havaya, which denotes that Hashem is the Echad, Yochad, and Miyuchad, the one and only power in the world. That's the testimony to Hashem's absolute Malchus and being the source of all creation. The fitting response was Baruch Shem Kvod Nachusoi Leilam Ved. Let's take a look at Rashi. So beginning from the words Teref Balkalfi, beginning of the parak. Teref Balkalfi, it says Rashi Shanin in Parak Shalamala. As we already learned earlier, there was a lottery box. This Hashem actually learns that it's Minat Torah. It brings the Torah's Kainim. We learn from the pasuk. There needs to be some sort of box. Taraf Pisaim Betreifa B'Chatifa, quickly in a hurry, thrust his hands in. Rabbi Chananel says he would actually shake up the lottery box. V'helish Negarolis, and he came up with two. Echad b'min, v'echad b'smal. One in his right hand, one in his left hand. Lasi'irim oimdim, echad b'min, v'echad b'smal. And the two goats, positioned likewise, one to his right, one to his left. V'noisein goyrel she'oyle b'min, l'sar she'min. And the lot, which came up into his right hand, he would place in the goat, which was situated to his right, and likewise regarding the one to his left. V'heino nenachrav, kishem matzkes Hashem, they say, Baruch Shem. Continues the Gemara, La Mali Toyef Bekalfi. Why does he have to shake things up and thrust his hands in? Suddenly, so he doesn't have the opportunity to be mechaven, to go ahead and purposely pick this lottery or that one. Meaning, I'm going to see soon in the Gemara, there was a schus, there was actually an advantage to have the Shem Hashem come up in his right hand. And as Rashi says, it was a Simon Yafa. Because the Shem Hashem, as Marsho explains, denotes Rachmim and Chesed from Hashem, Yudke Vavke, the source of all creation. The whole world is but an expression of Hashem's passionate love for mankind. So everything is included in Shem Havaya. Shem Havaya is the goodness, the good of all goodness. So that was very appropriate for Yom Kippur, where we needed an added measure of Rachmim and Chesed to be mechaper on the Averos of Klal Yisrael. And the fact that the Shem Hashem somehow came up in his right hand. Now the right hand of the Kohen Gadol, again, denotes Rachmim, Chesed. The right is the stronger one of the two hands, giving, powerful, and all-encompassing. And that corresponds to the Midas HaChesed of Hashem. So when both things came together, the Shem Hashem turned up in his right hand. That was a good simon. Things were going to go well that year. And perhaps the Kohen Gadol would purposely orchestrate things in that manner. So we had to shake it up and thrust his hands in suddenly to avoid any sort of rigging of this lottery. The actual box was made of wood. It was not kodesh. And it only had room to contain both hands and no more than that. Ravina asked the Kash, I understand why it was only big enough to accommodate both hands. So you would thrust both hands in together, lift up a lot in each hand. I understand why. So, as not to give him enough room to maneuver around and to purposely orchestrate the lottery. So, only has enough room to stick his hands in, pick up a lottery, and take out. Why do you say it was a non-kodesh vessel? Nigdasha, why wouldn't they be magdish if it was used for the avodah? More answers, because if it would be kodesh and it's wood, it would be considered a kli sharetz shel eitz. Ukli sharetz shel eitz leyavdina. And although there's a machlokes and manachos whether or not one may make a kli sharetz shel eitz, meaning is it kosher? But all agree ukli sharetz de eitz leyavdina. Lechatchila, we don't fashion a kli sharetz of eitz; it's not covered. V'na'avda the kesef, v'na'avda the zav. Okay, a wooden copy is incompatible with kli sharetz. Fine, so make it of silver, of gold, and then be mekadosh it. Ha Torah chasa al mamoinish Yisrael. The Torah was extra careful and meticulous when it came to preserving Giddush Geld, so as not to bring about extra expenditures on account of Yisrael. Save the money. Rashi brings a raya because by the Mitzvah, who had a nega in his house, the Torah said, clear it all out before the Kohen shows up. Perhaps something will become tummy he'll lose his possessions. And the Torah was concerned about the property of a Rosh, certainly property and money of Tzaddik. So therefore they kept it wood. It was just a once a year thing. It wasn't really a high level avodah here. And they kept it simple, wood, and therefore it could not have been considered a klei sharis. Mas nisan bloy ke'aitana out Mishnah, which maintains that the Kohen Gadol, only the Kohen Gadol would thrust both hands, right and left, into the lottery box and have one ticket come up in his right and one in his left. It apparently is not in line with the following Tana, who holds that we didn't use left hands. Left hand is pasal fa'avodah. He held you're not meant to use the left hand in this process of hagrola. Rather, what would they do? This Tanya. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler hasgan v'kohen gadol machnisin yodan b'kalp. It was a joint effort on account of the sgan and the kohen gadol. We used both their right hands to accomplish the hagrola. They would both stick in their right hands into the kalpi, and each one would take out a ticket. This way, you're not getting the left hand involved. And what happened? If it so happened that the Lashem ticket came up in the right hand of the Kohen Gadol, which was special, Hasgan Oymerloi, the Sgan would turn to him and say, Ishe Kohen Gadol, my master Kohen Gadol, Hagvei Mincha. Lift up your right hand for all to see. But if it so happens that the Kohen Gadol's right hand came up with the Lazazel, and the Lashem ticket ended up in the right hand of the Sgan, remember they both thrust their right hands into the box. In that case, what happened? Instead of the Sgan speaking, the Rosh Beis Av, Oymerloi LeKohen Gadol, the Rosh Beis Av would address the Kohen Gadol and say, Daber Milach, speak your words. Which words? As we went to the Mishnah, he would have to announce and designate Lashem Chatas. This is the one for Lashem Chatas. So, although it so happens that the Sgan was the lucky fellow who came up with the Lashem in his right hand, but inevitably the Kohen Gadol has to do the process, and he was the one who announced Lashem Chatas. But it wasn't the Sgan this time that spoke to the Kohen Gadol, rather the Beis Av, the Rosh Beis Av. But namely Sgan, why wouldn't the Sgan speak to him again and say, Kohen Gadol, speak up, say Lashem Chatas? The answer is, we were concerned. There was a subtle psychological concern here. And we wanted to be sensitive and preserve the Kohen Gadol's honor and dignity, even the loy salik biyadid. Since ultimately, the word Lashem did not end up in the Kohen Gadol's right hand, rather in the Sgan's right hand. Chol shadat, perhaps Kohen Gadol will feel bad if the Sgan turns around and starts speaking and addressing the Kohen Gadol directly. He's the one that usurped me. He's the one that came up with Lashem in his right hand. So perhaps it would appear boastful and haughty, and therefore we don't allow the Sgan to get in. We push him aside for the moment. We say, let's get an uninvolved party to continue the procedure. And he was the one, the Rosh Av Bezdin was the one who continued the procedure, and he addressed the Kohen Gadol in a respectful manner. So in the Mishnah we learned that the Kohen Gadol would stick both hands into the kalpi. One would come up in his right, one in his left. Whereas in the Brisa we have Rabbi Yehuda Shita, we need his right hands only. But since the Kohen Gadol only has one right hand, it was a joint effort between him and this guy. They both put their right hands in the kalpi, and each one took out a lot. But my kamiflagi, what's the point and basis of these two shittas? Mar Savar, Yamino the Sgan, Rabbi Yehuda and the Brisa holds, the right hand of the Sgan, although he's not a Kohen Gadol, and it's Yom Kippur, where all the avodas are meant to be performed by the Kohen Gadol, still and all he holds that the right hand of the Sgan is Adif, Mismoile the Kohen Gadol, is superior to the left hand of the Kohen Gadol. Left is more than just not right, it's left. It's something inferior. It's something that could be to the detriment of the avodah. Usually when the Kohen Gadol will do an avodah, or any Kohen, with his left, it's possible. We don't want to get the left involved at all. Instead, we choose the Sgan's right hand, in conjunction with the Kohen Gadol's right hand. Umar Sava, whereas our Tana, who holds that Kohen Gadol himself will do the entire job, using both hands right and left, it's inevitable. As it says, Shanim says, we find by Ketores as well. And when he walks into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it's too much for one hand to handle. He has the kaf, but the machta, what is going to be in his left hand? It's part of the process. Therefore, our Tana, our Mishnah holds, Mar Savar Ki Adadinino. He holds actually, the right hand of the Sgan and the left hand of the Kohen Gadol, they're both of equal value. Each one has an advantage and a disadvantage. Here we have the Kohen Gadol, but it's his left. Here we have the Sgan, he's not the Kohen Gadol, it's a Chasarn, but he has a Maila, that is his right. So they're both of equal value, they cancel out. And if that's the case, why not go back to the Kohen Gadol, have him do the entire process? Apparently he holds that there's nothing wrong with left per se necessarily, it's just not right. It's not the right hand. So it's not a negative factor, it's just lacking the right hand. And therefore he says, rather do that than get the Sgan involved who's not a Kohen Gadol. Says the more Uman Haitana the Palagaled Rabbi Yehuda. We know that Rabbi Yehuda holds, right, carries the day. You need the Sgan and Kohen Gadol being involved. Who is our Tana, our Mishnah, who disagrees with that concept? Who disagrees with Rabbi Yehuda? What's his name? Rabbi Chanina Sgan HaKahanimo. That's his name. The Sanya. How do we know that he holds that the Sgan would not be involved in the Agrala? The Brisa says, the Sanya, Rabbi Chanina Sgan HaKahanimo. Loma Sgan Maimin. Bach says Maimin. Why is he always walking alongside the Kohen Gadol to his right? What's the point? Shem ira by psul b'Kohen Gadol, because if something happens to Kohen Gadol, he becomes unfit for avodah. Nichnas Sgan u'meshamash tachtav. At that point, the Sgan becomes activated, and he takes his place. But otherwise, he has no active role in any sort of avodah. He's there to accompany the Kohen Gadol, to be mechaber the Kohen Gadol, to appear like he's his vice president, which gives cover to the Kohen Gadol. That's it. He's not going to get involved in Hagrola and Avodah. So apparently, our Mishnah, which tells us that only the Kohen Gadol would do the Hagrola, and the Sgan was uninvolved, is in line with this Shita. I would prefer the Kohen Gadol, despite the fact that he's going to have to use his left hand. We prefer that than getting the Sgan involved. So in summary, we have two Shitas regarding the process of Hagrola. According to Rabbi Yehuda, we need right hands. Kohen Gadol only has one. So we get the Sgan involved. They both insert their right hands, and each one comes up with one ticket. According to our Mishnah, we prefer the Kohen Gadol, despite the fact that his left hand will have to get involved. And he does the entire process, putting both hands in, taking out one ticket in each hand, and placing them on the respective goats, placed his right and left. Toner Rabbanon Arboim Shana. Oh, now we're going to learn about the Maila, the Siman Yafa, regarding the Lashem ticket ending up in his right hand. Toner Rabbanon Arboim Shana Sheshimeish Shimon HaTzadik. You know, Shimon HaTzadik was a tzaddik, a Kohen Gadol, who lived in the first period of the second Beis Hamikdash. He was one of the Shiorei Knesses Agdola, as we learn in Pirkei Avos, the first parak. So during his tenure, during his 40-year tenure as Kohen Gadol, many great things happened on account of his schus. Number one, Hayo Goyro Oile B'Yamin. The Goyro would always come up in his right hand. The Lashem would always be found in his right. Mekan ve'elach, after his passing, hit or miss. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Sometimes the word Hashem would end up in the right hand, sometimes in the left. Number two, they had a red piece of wool which they hung up on the Heichal door, or eventually later they actually sent it out with the Sarah Azazel to the Midbar, as we're going to learn about Hashem in Masechta, and it would turn white, from red to white, as a simon that Hashem was machaper. So this happened throughout his tenure. But afterwards, pa'amim malbin, at times it would whiten. Pa'amim einei malbin, at times it wouldn't. Number three, v'hoya ne'emar Ravi doilek. The ne'emar Ravi in the menorah would just burn and burn and burn, on and on, throughout the night and the next day, until it was time to relight the menorah. So this is a miraculous burning, because it had the same amount of oil as all the other ones, and it just kept on burning. The Gemara says this is an edus, a testimony, a living edus, Shechina Shari B'Yisrael, that Shechina dwells amongst Yisrael. This happened throughout his lifetime. But afterwards, pa'amim dailik, at times it would burn, pa'amim kava, other times it would go out. Number 4, and the Eish on the Mizbeach would just keep on going without any need to resupply it with new wood. They wouldn't have to resupply the wood. Of course, except for those 2 blocks of wood, which was a mitzvah. This was during his lifetime. After Shimon HaTzadik's passing, sometimes it would just keep on going, sometimes the fire would just dissipate. The Kohanim wouldn't hesitate to bring to resupply the maracha throughout the day. Number 5, there was a bracha which was applied to the oimer ba'oimer b'shtei alechem lechem aponim v'chol kohen shemagia kezayis. Now, it was such a bracha that it was just enough. It was sufficient for all kohanim. Everybody got a kezayis. V'chol kohen shemagia kezayis yesh oichle v'savea. So the Kohen Gadol was on a high madrega. He would eat the kezayis and be full. V'yesh oichle yumoiser. So a standard kohen get full, but a kohen on an even higher madrega, v'yesh oichle, it would be another kohen who would eat that same amount. Moiser. Not only would it satisfy him, he would even leave some over. So based on the Maharsha, it seems that there was a double bracha, quantitatively and qualitatively. Firstly, there was enough for all. A kazayis per kohen. And number 2, that kazayis was stretched, went for a long way. But after his passing, a curse was applied to these things, and had a twofold effect. Number 1, there's only very little per kohen. Number 2, it wasn't very filling. And every kohen would just get a lentil, bean-sized portion. And since it was so small, and it also wasn't really filling, the finer kohanim would just pull away and wouldn't get involved and taking that little bit. It was useless. It wasn't a share. It wasn't satiating. And those gluttonous fellows, they would insist, they would grab whatever it was and eat it. There was even a story with one of these fellows. He not only took his part, he took his fellow's portion as well. Ben Chamson. They gave him a title, Ben Chamson, a thief. Chamson is a thief. So Ben Chamson, you're a real thief. They called him that name until his very last day. Omer Rabba Bar Shila, my crow. What do we find in the pasuk? That Chamson Chometz is related to thievery. Pasuk in Tehillim says, "Alikai palteni miad Russia, save me from a wicked fellow. Mekaf ma'avel v'chometz. Chometz here is a thief. Rav Amami Hacha from a different pasuk. Limdu, Heitev, Dirshu, Mishpat, Ashru Chometz. Teach justice and Ashru, defend, strengthen the Chometz, the fellow who was robbed. Ashru Chometz, strengthen the victim, but Alta Ashru Chometz, and not the perpetrator. Actually says, this is a Gemara, and Gemara Sanhedrin explains, it's not really pertaining to us. In any case, we have extra minutes, so let's just look back at the Gemara before. Interesting Teis Yeshanim on the kapul. The Gemara says that the kohen will only get a small drop of lechem aponim, so the tzunua would decide it's not for me. It says Teis Yeshanim, Omer Rebbe, the dafka magia kapul. This was only because he had a small amount. Alo the kazayis. Suppose he would have gotten a kazayis. Everybody would just take it. They wouldn't pull away. Because they would have been mekayim at least the mitzvah. Kazayis achila. But in this case, it wasn't really a mitzvah achila. Since it was only a small amount, then it didn't really fill them. Meaning that there were 2 things. Firstly, the amount, the quantity, wasn't a shear achila. There's no mitzvah to achilas kachim. Eating a kachim, a truma kachim is a mitzvah. But if it wasn't a shear achila, wasn't a kazayis, what's the point? And also, it wasn't really satiating. So on account of both things, if it would have been a kazayis, it would have taken mitzvah achila. If it would have been satiating, so at least that much. Even if it's smaller in size, but the satiating effect sort of makes up for the shear. And it would have been somewhat of a mitzvah to engage in that. But since both were missing, they pulled away. As opposed to when Shimon HaTzadik was around, so they got a shear, it was a kazayis, and even if they would have only gotten a smaller amount, he brings the Gemara in Pesachim that even a pull, a bean-sized piece of lechem apana would be enough to satiate the kohen. It was a bracha, even qualitatively. They would have taken it happily. Why? Because it's saveya, it's masbia, it's satiating, and the fact that it's less than a shear, the quality, the satiating effect seems to take the place of the shear, and it would have been a mkiyah mitzvah achila. Incidentally, it's mashaf and Tosfos Yishonim that otherwise there really isn't a mitzvah to eat kosher. There's a big shaila in the Achronim. We paskin that we're going to see it later on in the Masechtas Machlokes, actually between Rabbi Yochanan and Shlokish, whether chatzis shear is also min haTorah. You can't eat a kazayis on a vela. What about half a kazayis? So one of Ayin Daled Amud Aleph brings a machlokes. Rabbi Yochanan says that even less than a shear is also, it's forbidden, even though he's not going to get malchus, not going to get an einish, but it's iser. Even less than a shear is also. Shaz, what about a mitzvah? The mitzvah to eat a kazayis, matzah on Pesach. What if he doesn't have a kazayis? Is there a point of eating a half a kazayis? A chatzi mitzvah. It seems from this Tosfos Yishonim that there really isn't a key mitzvah in less than a shear, and there isn't even a inyan to eat less than a shear of a dvar mitzvah. Continues the Gemara back on Amud Beis. It's worth 5 lines from the top. So we spoke about the tkufa of Shimon HaTzadik. So during that point in history, we experienced great nisim, but after his passing, there was yes and no. Sometimes yeah, sometimes no. That very year that he passed away, Omerlam, he turned to them and he said, "You meant to know that this is my last year, B'shana Zuhu Meis, this year." Who? Spoke in the euphemism, a third person language. Mashal says, Aliftach Adam Pela Satan. Interesting, even though he knew. We want to see soon how he knew, but he knew that he was going to pass away, but he didn't want to speak directly, perhaps get an extension. So he spoke third person, B'shana Zuhu Meis. He's going to pass away this year. Omer Loi, they asked him, today, how do you know? Omer he says, V'chol Yom Kippur. Every Yom Kippur, I would encounter this elderly fellow. Of course, was a malach. Tosfos Yishonim says he was an expression of Hashem. So I would find this zaken who would accompany me into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Zaken echad lavish levanim, ba'ataf levanim, dressed and wrapped in white. Nichnas imi, yatz imi. He walked in with me and he came back out from the Kodesh HaKadoshim together with me. But today is different. I encountered a zaken. Lavish shchayrim, dressed and wrapped in black as a sign of avelos, of mourning. Nichnas imi v'lo yatz imi. He came in with me but didn't leave with me. Which indicates, as the Mepharshim explain, it indicates his no return. He's going to connect to Hashem. He's going to go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, cleave to Hashem eternally, and no longer come back. Achar regel, indeed, after Sukkot, Cholosh Shivas Yom, he fell ill for 7 days, Umeis, and he passed away. V'nimnu echav kehanim milavarach v'shem. From that point on, the kehanim no longer used the Shem HaMefurish when they recited Birchas Kohanim. Rashi says, Shlo Yahayu Kedai, they no longer consider themselves worthy of engaging in the Shem HaMefurish as during his lifetime. Tanu Rabbana, now we go to the next era, next period in history. So we spoke about during his lifetime, everything was great. After his passing, iffy. Now we'll go to the last tkufa of Bayis Sheni. Tanu Rabbana Arboim Shana Koydim Churban Habayis. The last 40 years of the Beis Hamikdash, Lo Yehoya Goyrel Eilo Bimin. At that point, it no longer, the Shem Hashem, the Lashem lot would no longer ever be found in the right hand of the Kohen Gadol. And that red piece of wool would no longer whiten on Yom Kippur. Throughout the year, the name Aravi would no longer burn longer than the other ones. And not only this, the doors of the Heichel would just open up on their own. So when the fellow unlocked them, they would just spring open as an indicator of inviting the enemies into the Beis Hamikdash. Rabbi Yechon and Zakkai. Rabbi Yechon and Zakkai yelled at the doors, and then they stopped their practice. Omar lo, he said to him, Heichel. Why are you scaring yourself? To the Gerson, the Yerushalmi, why are you scaring us? Let us enjoy it while it's here. I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. I know eventually going to be destroyed. The Navi Zechariah already said, describing the Gullus, describing the Churban, Psach Levanon Lasecha, Levanon the Beis Hamikdash, open up your doors wide, and the fire will enter and consume you. So I know opening doors is an indicator of the impending Churban. Stop this practice. Let us enjoy it while it's here. Why is it so that we relate to the Beis Hamikdash with the term Levanon, whitening? Shemalbin Abanu Senshi Yisrael, because it whitens, has a whitening effect, a cleansing effect on the Averis of Yisrael. That's where we brought the Karbanos. That's where they got True Kapara. Amar Rav Zutra Bar Tuvi. Lama Nikra Shmo Yar. Why was Beis Hamikdash called Yar? Tichsiv Beis Yar HaLevanon. So once again, Levanon, the Beis Hamikdash. Why was it called Yar in the forest? Lo will have to tell you there's some sort of similarity between a Beis Hamikdash and a forest. Ma Yar Melavlev, just as a forest sprouts forth, puts forth growth. Av Beis Hamikdash Melavlev, likewise a Beis Hamikdash. Damar Hoisha B'Shah Shebonu Shlomo Beis Hamikdash. At the time when Shlomo Melech built the Beis Hamikdash, Nota by Kol Minei Megadim Shel Zahav, he planted in the Beis Hamikdash all different types of golden fruit trees. But you might see in Paris Bizmanei, we had this earlier in the Masechta, they would actually produce fruit at season. The Kiva and Sharuach Min Hashem ben, as soon as the wind began blowing, the trees would shed their produce, their golden fruit. Shenema Yirash Kalvonin Piriyai. He will rustle, will make noise like the Beis Hamikdash. His fruits, we see that there was fruit rustling and shedding the Beis Hamikdash. Umehen hoisa parnasa lekehuna, the Kohanim use this as to sustain themselves. They support themselves from these golden fruit. As soon as the Goyim entered to destroy the Beis Hamikdash, Yavshu, all the trees dried up. Shenema Ferach Levanon. This Perach of the Beis Hamikdash, Umlo, unfortunate and dried up. In the future, Hashem will restore this. Shenema Pureach Tifrach, it will soon blossom again. V'tzagel Av Gilas, and will be full of joy and glee. V'ranein Kvod Halavana Nitanla, indicating that the honor of the Beis Hamikdash will be restored. Let's go back to the Mishnah. Ken Gadol picked out the tickets and placed them, one on each goat. And he said, Hashem Chatas. And this was actually his 10th time expressing the Shem HaMefarish in public on Yom Kippur. Tan Rabban. Eser Pa'amim. Maske Kohen Gadol es Hashem Bevayon. On Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol would utter Hashem's name, the Shem HaMefarish, 10 times. Farshim point out that number 10 has special significance, especially when it comes to Kedusha. 10 levels of a Kedusha until the 10th, which is the highest. That corresponds to the 10 mentionings of Hashem's name. How do we have 10? Gimel B'Vidi Rishon. The first time around, this was back on Daf Lamahayim Beis, he approached his par and he recited Vidya for himself and his family. You may remember that he said it 3 times. Shem Hashem was mentioned 3 times. Ana Hashem, then again Ana Bashem, and concluded with the pasuk, concluding with the words Lefnei Hashem Tetorah. So that's 3. Gimel B'Vidi Rishon, Ushloisha B'Vidi Sheni. And likewise another 3 times, Hashem, during the second Vidui, which was actually with the same par, but this time he was confessing on account of his fellow Kohanim. So once again we have 3 names of Hashem for a total of 6. Ushloisha B'Sar Mishtalech, 3 during the Vidui, which involved the Sur sent out to the Midbar, And the final one, the one we just mentioned, ve'echad b'gorilla, is during the lottery process. Says the Gemara, there was a miraculous phenomenon when it came to the Kohen Gadol's voice. As the Ravid points out, the following Gemara is based on Nisim. Kvar Omar Hashem, it so happens that the Kohen Gadol once expressed Hashem's name, v'nishma koile b'Yericha, his voice was heard all the way in Yericha, far away. How far? Omar Rabba, Babrachama, Mishalayim l'Yericha, was how far? Asara parsois. Now a parsa is 4 mil. Roughly 4 miles. 10 times 4 miles are 40 miles away. Not only that, the squeaking, the creaking of the doors of the Hechel, the way they creaked when they opened up, that sound, Nishma b'shmoyne Tchum Shabbos, could be heard all the way out. 8 Tchum Shabbos away. Tchum Shabbos is 2,000 Amma. So 8 times that, 16,000 Amma away. Not only that, Izim Shebiricha, even the goats in Yericha, they would sneeze Mereach HaKteris, from the effect of the pleasant aroma wafting from the Kteris, from Yerushalayim, all at Yericha. Not only that, Nashim Shebiricha, even the women in Yericha, Einon Sricha is this Basem, had no need to apply perfume Mereach HaKteris, because of the odor of the Kteris wafting throughout the city. Not only that, Kala Shebirushalayim, even a Kala, who's accustomed to applying a high dose of perfume. So Kala in Yerushalayim, Einat Tzricha Liskashed, had no need to apply perfume, Mereach Kteris. And Masha points out, this Kala phenomenon was unique to Yerushalayim, but a Kala in Yericha would need some Kteris, because would need some perfume, because it wasn't so concentrated in Yericha to offset the need for a Kala applying perfume. A Kala applies more than an ordinary Isha. So that was unique to Yerushalayim. In fact, my father had some goats, in that area, and indeed they would sneeze as a result of the Kteris wafting through that area. Rabbi Shimon Karch, Rabbi Avin quoted Rabbi Shimon Karch, a certain elderly fellow related to me the following story. So it happens that I once went to the former Mishkan Shilei. Mishkan Shilei was a permanent structure on the bottom, had walls, and a material roof. So I visited that area, the ruins of Shilei, and I actually smelled the smell of Kteris from within its walls. So the Kteris was actually embedded in the walls of the former Mishkan Shilei and was still present. Okay, let's go back to Halach. Rabbi Yanai. So we spoke about the lottery system, which the Kohen Gadol will pull out 2 lots and then place them on the appropriate goat. Now, placement on the goats is certainly not mi'akiv. Once you've determined which one is what, and that happened through the aliyas hagirl, through pulling out the lots from that box, that already determines and designates that the right goat is this, left goat is that. The actual placement, the hanocha, certainly is not mi'akiv. What about the aliyah itself? The hagrol, is that mi'akiv? Or can you just designate manually, verbally? Lifting those lots out of the girdle, that's certainly critical. You cannot just verbally designate. Hanocha ina ma'akeves. I agree that placement of those tickets on the goats, that's not miyaka, that's not critical. It's a mitzvah, but it's not really vital and critical. Rabbi Yechon Amar af aliyah ina ma'akeves. Not only placement is not miyaka, but even the actual aliyah hagirl is not miyaka. Let's take a look at Rashi. Rashi here would be 14 lines from the top of the Yom. Beginning with the words aliyah hagirl mitoch kalpi ma'akeves. This is Rabbi Yanai speaking. It's ma'akeves avoida, says Rashi. Sheina Sirim Misparshim. The Sirim don't get their designation. Zela Shem Azazel, Ella Al Pia Girl. It only works one way, strictly through Girl. The Fichach Tzorach Liris Eze Olabimin. Vihi Shalimin Nikaboy. You have to take a look at the tickets which you've taken out. And determine based on that which designation is applied to which goat. So you take a look at the ticket in your right hand. Oh, this is the El Hashem. This is the right goat. You take a look at the left ticket, and that determines the status of the goat on the left. But the actual placement of those tickets on the sir, that's not me'ak. Because you've already determined that the right goat corresponds to the ticket in your right hand, and likewise the goat on the left. So that is not me'akiv. Once you've determined, that's okay. Placement on the goat, that's a mitzvah, not me'akiv. Rabbi Yehuda says even further, even doing the slaughter to begin with is only a mitzvah, it's not me'akiv. Should the kohen decide to say, well, this is a chatas, and the other one's azazel, hukfu. It's become designated, even without a girl. Hukfu b'lei agrola. She'ein hagrola ma'akeves, elo shechiser mitzvah. He missed out an opportunity, a mitzvah, but it's not me'akiv. Let's go back to the Gemara. So once again, Rabbi Yani says, all the hanocha, placement of those lots on the animals is not me'akiv, but hagrola is. Rabbi Yehuda says, no. If you wish, you can go ahead and designate them verbally. Which one's Lashem, and the other one Lazaz. Explains the Gemara. I'll leave Rabbi Yehuda. Now let's just stop for a second. There's a machlekes later on in the Masechta, Naf Samach. Between Rabbi Yehuda, who maintains that although we do find a lashon of chukah in the parsha of Achrim, the parsha of Yom Kippur. What does chukah mean? Absoluteness, non-negotiable. Those steps, those processes described in the parsha are critical and vital to the success of Yom Kippur Avodah. Despite that word of chukah, says Rabbi Yehuda, I want to tell you something. It's limited in scope. You see, on Yom Kippur, there were several phases to the Avodah, as we discussed earlier. We had the Big Day Zav, which were worn during the Tamid, during the Musaf, etc. We have Big Day Lavan, which were designated for Avodos, Hayayim, Karbonis, which were unique and specific to Yom Kippur. But even within Big Day Lavan, we have two categories. At some points, he went into the Kodesh HaKadoshim to perform Avodah. Those Avodas are regarded way higher, says Rabbi Yehuda, than the Avodah is conducted even with Big Day Lavan, but outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Therefore he says, Chukah, which denotes absoluteness. You can't deviate from the Avodah. You can't miss something out. You can't rearrange things from the way they're supposed to be. That only applies, says Rabbi Yehuda, to Avodas which were done wearing Big Day Lavan in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. But otherwise, if you miss out, it doesn't disqualify the Avodah of Yom Kippur. That's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi says, any Avodah done with Big Day Lavan, which of course are unique to Yom Kippur, even if the Avodah was outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, is critical, it is vital, and would invalidate the entire Yom Kippur process. So once again, according to Nehemiah, anything done with Big Day Lavan is me'akiv. According to Yehuda, Big Day Lavan and the Kodesh HaKadoshim, two conditions need to be met in order to be considered me'akiv. Getting back to the girl. How was the girl conducted and where was it conducted? Of course, he was wearing Big Day Lavan. Right? He put on the Big Day Lavan, he approached his par for the Viday, and then immediately went to do the girl. He was still wearing white. But where did it take place? We went back on that Lamed Ches. It wasn't the Azara. It wasn't the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Sorry, on Lamed Zayin. So this was in the Azara. It was B'chutz. Is it Miyakiv? Was it not? It says, well, let's analyze. Let's analyze our discussion based on those Tanai. I'll leave the Yehuda. According to Yehuda the Amar, Dvarim Hanasim, B'Big Day Lavan B'chutz, Loi Ma'akva. He maintains that avodas which were performed with Big Day Lavan, but they were done outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, they're not me'akiv. So according to him, Kuli Amalei Pligi, all agree. Rabbi Yana, Rabbi Yechon, of course, they all agree. The way Ma'akva, Hagrola, which was done outside, that's not me'akiv. There's no Shaila according to Yehuda, it doesn't disqualify the avodah. It's not critical. You can just designate the goats verbally. Ki Pligi Alir of Nehemiah. The question is only according to Nehemiah. Whoa, that any avodah in Kippur performed wearing Big Day Lavan connects to the day, it relates to the day, it gets added significance and cannot be dropped. So according to him, we have a machlekes. What about the hagrola of the seir? Man da amar ma'akfa k'Rab Nechemia. Rabbi Yana, he maintains hagrola is ma'akiv. He says, I'm following Rab Nechemia. It's an avoida. Big day loving. Of course, that's ma'akiv. Uma da amar ma'akfa. But Rabbi Yehuda says it's not ma'akiv. Why? Hani v'le avoida. Rab Nechemia's principle only applies to true avoida. Avoida, which is considered part of the akrova of the animal. Kabbalah, this is Rika. Hagrola, love avoida. Doing the hagrola, that's not really considered a high level avoida. It's only a hachana, it's only a designation. Tesis Shanu says it's kriya Hashem. You're just designating it. It's not a true hakrova process, and therefore, says Rabbi Yehuda, even according to that opinion, Rabbi Nechemia's opinion, that any avoida meant to be conducted with big day love and on Yom Kippur's ma'akiv doesn't apply to hagrola. So in short, according to this version of the Gemara, according to Rabbi Yehuda, there's no question. Hagrola is not me'akiv. It's not something that's meant to take place in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The question is according to Rabbi Nechemia. Rabbi Yani says, hagrola, it requires big day loving. It's Yom Kippur related. It's part of the schedule, unnegotiable. Whereas Rabbi Yehuda says, that only applies to an avoida. An avoida can't be dropped. But this is not a true avoida. Second version of the Gemara, Ika de Amri. Some presented the discussion as follows. I'll leave Rab Nechemia the Amar Ma'akva. According to Rab Nechemia holds that any avoida done with big day love and Yom Kippur is critical and vital. Kuli Amolei Pligi de Ma'akva. All agree. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yani both agree. Hagrola is Ma'akiv. It's an avoida. It has significance. It's like any other avoida done with big day love. There's no question. Ki pligi, when then is there a discussion between Rabbi Yana who says it's mi'akiv, and Rabbi Yehuda who disagrees? I'll leave Rabbi Yehuda. We'll follow Rabbi Yehuda. Ma damalei ma'akva. The one who says it's not mi'akiv, Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda. I'm following Rabbi Yehuda. Who says the only thing that's ma'akiv on Yom Kippur is something done A with big day loving and 2 in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Gairol doesn't conform to that. It's outside. Uman da Omar ma'akva. But Rabbi Yana who says it is critical, he says, look, I'm following Rabbi Yehuda as well. But here it's different. Although it's taking place outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Shali Hacha, the Tana Beikra, we find a repetition in the pasuk, Asher Allah, in this pasuk of Garo, to repeat itself. And therefore, since we have Asher Allah Trei Zimni, says Rashi right off to the left, Shani Hacha, the Tana Beikra, Afagav the Chukah, Lava Lo Kaima, even though the word Chukah doesn't apply to anything outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, here it's different. Lava Lo Kaima La'akiv, Ma'akiv, here it's different. It's Mi'akiv, Sharei Shina Olav HaKosa La'akiv. The Torah repeats itself, which indicates importance, indicates absoluteness. Umikra Yiseiru Nafkala Yikuv. This extra pasuk, this repetition, denotes the critical nature of Hagrol. So in conclusion, what is Me'akiv when it comes to the Hagrol? All agree that Hanocha is not Me'akiv. The actual placement of those lots on the Karbonis, that's not critical. As long as he's already determined which one belongs to what. The one on his right hand designated to his right sir, the one to his left sir. He doesn't need to actually place it. It's a mitzvah, but it's not Me'akiv. What about the actual Hagrola? Meaning, does he have to go ahead and conduct this lottery? Or can he just decide which one's what verbally? That's called the Aliyah. Is the Aliyah Ma'akiv or not? According to version 1 in the Gemara, we have like this. All agree that according to Rabbi Yehuda, that's not Me'akiv, because the only thing that's Me'akiv is something done with big day loving, Bifnim, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, but not Hagrola. The question is according to Rabbi Nechemia, who says anything done with big day loving is Me'akiv. So according to Rabbi Yanai, yeah, it's Me'akiv. Rabbi Yehuda says Hagrola is Lav Avoida, and therefore is not included in that club. Version 2 of the Gemara maintain that according to Rabbi Nechemia, who says anything with big day loving is Me'akiv, Hagrola certainly is considered an Avoida as Me'akiv. The question is according to Rabbi Yehuda, who says that only something done with big day loving b'fnim is Me'akiv. Well, Hagrola, although done with big day loving, but it's outside. Is it Me'akiv? Rabbi Yehuda says no. Rabbi Yani says, well, here it's different. Because the pasuk says Asher Allah twice, which indicates that's not only a thing to do, it's absolute, and we're unyielding. Continues the Gemara Meisei on a Kasha or a Bryce. The Kasha will be on the discussion between the Amoraim, Rabbi Yana and Rabbi Yehuda regarding Hagrol. Mitzvah la Hagrol. It's a mitzvah to do the hagrola. Higro, kosher. If he refrained from hagrola, it's still kosher. It's not mi'akiv. Let's analyze the brayso. Now it works well according to that lashon, meaning the first lashon of the Gemara. The Amras Alivod Rabbi Yehuda, that according to Rabbi Yehuda says the only thing is ma'akiv is something in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So according to him, Kuli Alma Loi Pligid Loi Ma'akiv, all agree, Rabbi Yana agree, it's not ma'akiv. Okay, so we have a Manda Omar for this brayso. This brayso which said that it's not ma'akiv, it's Haman Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, so that's good. It's Rabbi Yehuda who says, since it's out of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, it's a mitzvah, but not ma'akiv. But according to the second lashon in the Gemara, the Amris, where you maintained, Pligi, that the machlokes between Rabbi Yana and Rabbi Yochanan revolves around Rabbi Yehuda's sheet. And Rabbi Yochanan says, according to Rabbi Yehuda, it's not me'akev, it's outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Okay? So according to him, we understand the brayso. Works well according to Rabbi Yochanan, who says that it's not me'akev, Hamani Rabbi Yehuda, this brayso is Rabbi Yehuda. It's outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Why would it be ma'akev? But according to Rabbi Yana, who says that even according to Rabbi Yehuda, here it's different. Although it's outside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, we have a repetition in the pasuk which denotes importance and absoluteness. Homani, who is the author of this brayso? Who says that missing out on hagrola doesn't invalidate the carbon? We have no shita which holds that opinion. Rabbi Nechemia certainly holds it's possible. He holds anything in Big Day Lovin is possible if missed. Rabbi Yehuda, in this case, he's masking that it's mi'akiv. So who's the man the Amar? How many? Says the Gemara Tni. Let's revise the Mishnah. The brayso mitzvah lahaniach. The brayso is not speaking about the actual hagrola, lifting the lots out of the lottery box. That perhaps is mi'akiv according to some shittas. The brayso is speaking about the placement, the hanocha of those lots on the curtain, and that's something which is only a mitzvah chatchila and not mi'akiv according to all shittas. Okay, time for a brief chazar of today's daf. King Gadol approached the kalfi, the lottery box, which the Gemara tells us was not kodesh, made from wood, and had just enough room for both hands. How did this take place? According to our Mishnah, who is Rabbi Chanina Skana Kahana, King Gadol would be solely involved, even though it involves his left hand, because that's better than getting a sgan involved. Rabbi Yehuda maintained, no. The sgan and the King Gadol work together, both using their right hands. So he had a goat on either side. He took out one lottery in each hand and placed them on the respective goats. By doing so, after doing so, he said, Lashem chatas. According to Rabbi Shmuel, Lashem is sufficient, which elicited a response from the spectators. Ve'inon achrav. Some say, in fact, that they actually bowed down when they said that, and they said, Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus Olam V'ed. We learned that during the tenure of Shimon HaTzadik, during those 40 years, the Lashem ticket always came up in his right hand. The red wool was white and Yom Kippur. The Ne'er Maravi will last throughout the day. The Eisha, the Maracha, would last throughout the day without needing to be replenished. It was a brach on the Omer, Shtei Lechem, Lechem Apanim. After his passing, sometimes it worked, sometimes not. But the 40 last years of the Binyan, Lashem never turned out in the right hand. The red wool wouldn't whiten. The Maravi wouldn't last through the day. In fact, the Dalsas HaHeichel would begin opening up until they were yelled at by Rabbi Yechon Mazak. We learned about the golden fruit growing in the Beis Hamikdash. 10 times that the Shem HaFarish was uttered by the Kohen Gadol in Kippur. The sound of the Kohen Gadol on the doors of the Heichel and the wafting aroma of the Ketores all the way to the far distance. The Reach went to the Richoi and the sneezing goats and the Isha who didn't need to apply the perfume. And we concluded with a discussion regarding the Ikov of Agrola. We learned that Hanocha certainly is not me'akev according to all shittas regarding Aliyah, doing the actual Agrola. So according to the first version of the Gemara, Rabbi Yehuda's shita, that only thing that's me'akev is the things in Kodesh HaKadoshim, according to him, of course it's not me'akev. The machlokes is regarding Rabbi Nechemia, that anything Klei Lavan is me'akev. Rabbi Yana says it's me'akev, Rabbi Yechon says no, it's not avoid. According to the second version of the Gemara, according to Rabbi Nechemia, of course it's me'akev, it's on the Klei Lavan. According to Rabbi Yehuda, well, only in the Kodesh HaKadoshim it's me'akev, and not outside. That's Rabbi Yechon's shita, which Rabbi Yana maintains. In fact, the Torah repeats itself. That indicates that it's absolute and must be done. Haslach Rabban, all the best to you.